Hey y'all, this is Devin and we are live and it has been the land. Technical difficulties this morning. So good to have you here. I'm not sure that I gave everyone the right link. I'm trying to scramble and find it right now. And so if you're watching this live, I'm going to put this down here right now. Hopefully we'll get it. And if not, I think we're going to go with Blab next week because these technical things are amazing. There's got to be an easier way. Anyway, this is Devin. Thank you so much for being here. We are covering the five don'ts, the five love and relationship killers. I'm going to be answering your questions. I did receive a few questions to start with, so we may jump with that, and please accept my apologies if we had any problems in getting you online today. That said, we are going to start with something that happened late last week that I wanted to share. It's a shameless plug. It is a shameless plug, and it's totally not my book. Born for This came out. It is a book by Chris Guillebeau, who is a guy that I sort of like randomly met on a trip to the Cook Islands about 7 years ago. And he had just started this blog, the Nonconformist, the Unconventional something or other. Anyway, he's a great guy. He's a great guy, and we hit it off, and we ended up spending sort of like the next 5 days a week talking about life and business and travel. Chris eventually went on to visit every single country on Earth and is known for his expert travel hacking and his blog, and he does a bunch of wonderful things. Anyway, he has come out with a number of books. They're all like ridiculous, wild, huge bestsellers. And the reason why I'm standing here with a pile of books directly behind me is because I am featured in the book as one of the people. The book is about really going after the things that you are born to do, the things that you are inspired and passionate by and about. And I am one of the people that's featured as leading sort of like the kind of life that, well, I want to live. You know, I started out as a travel editor. I did it because I love travel, and I think that more people are supposed to travel. And it was a process. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no writing credentials. I had no anything, and I just went out and did it. And now, No Traveler remains to be an incredibly popular site for now. 12 years, maybe 12 going on 13 years. With that said, I travel a lot. That's obviously how I met Chris. And the book is fun. And here's the hilarious part. Instead of Devin Galaudet, I am Devin Galaudet. So welcome to that. I even made a Facebook page to make lemonade out of lemons. Anyway, the book is fun. I hope you learned something about it. If you happen to see it in the store, take a couple minutes and check it out. But let's move forward into the five love and relationship killers, which are punishment, blaming, mind reading, history, and fantasy. I'm not going to go into too much detail about them, because really what I want to start moving into are the five love and relationship saviors, the life jackets that keep us and our heads above water as we try with love in our hearts to have the greatest love life and relationship absolutely possible. As you know, we talk a little bit about Kabbalah here. As a matter of fact, we do a lot. And one of the things that, one of the Kabbalistic principles, without going into too much details, if I had my model in front of me, I would probably be sharing it with you right now. And that is the tree of life. And the tree of life is basically the important part that you have to understand if you can't see the model, is that there is sort of like the highest self, the connection to the divine or God or the cosmic ooze or your guardian angel or whatever it is that you want to describe it as sort of like your highest nobility, the things that we're really always trying to achieve. And then, of course, there's our daily lives, that our daily lives are filled with distraction and chaos and details and bits and pieces. And so we understand that at the top of the tree, or when we look at sort of like what are our highest principles of integrity, when we look at those kinds of things, notions of love and honesty and kindness and support all come into view, where the details tend to get left in the dust. However, we are surrounded by the details on a regular and constant basis, and it's really challenging and hard sometimes when you are inundated, where it's like, oh, I have to be at work at such and such a time, or the kids need to be picked up from school, or I have a project at work that I don't really believe in, but they pay me to do it, and I'm not really satisfied with life, and I'm not really happy. It's sort of like the general malaise of life that's like, the last thing I want to be nice. The last thing I want to do right now is be kind and loving to my partner. Matter of fact, they did something that pissed me off 3 days ago, and I need to let them know all about that. So you can see the difference and the challenges in it, and Kabbalah teaches us that ultimately all of those details, all of the chaos and the distraction, and all the things that sort of like weigh down upon us are really just illusion. That really all we have is love and our connection to divine and our innermost self, and all of these sort of like high-minded details that seem to be hard to connect to. What I'm going to talk about, as I frequently do, is the use of Kabbalah, which, in the most simplest of forms is like, if you feel that you need to yell and scream at somebody, you probably don't. That there's other tools that you can use that will kind of keep the issues down to a minimum, and it has to do with how do you be of service to another person. Again, this has to do with honesty and love and connecting with the beauty that you are. So be nice to yourself. And if you're not doing this perfectly, we're going to keep talking about how to do it better. As a matter of fact, why don't we just kind of jump in with one of the questions that I received, which is, it was a long letter, actually, from Anna. It was actually Anna. Thank you so much. It was a lovely note. But really, if I understand her question right, it was, how come I don't have more trust in my relationship? And she kind of, if I'm sort of paraphrasing here, but it's, how does trust work? Well, trust works when you get to know somebody to a point, or a circumstance or a situation to a point where you feel safe. Where, like, in other words, like when I close my front door at night, I trust that there isn't going to be a marauding band of pirates climbing through the window when I sleep. That's trust. When I'm in a relationship that I know my partner loves and cares for me, that's trust. Because when I'm not trusting within the relationship, it's very easy for me to start questioning their motives, or questioning my own motives, or questioning the relationship as a whole. So how does trust work? Well, hopefully you've picked a person who is going to be trustworthy. We are human. So, one of the fantasies, if you remember from week 1 in the five love and relationship pillars, we understand that we have these visions in our head of what love and our partners are supposed to be like. And for the most part, they are perfect. They don't have any faults, but they're going to accept and embrace all of ours. So how do you develop and maintain trust in a relationship? Well, you do it by being trusting is a great way to start. How do you do that? That means you have to put aside all of the details and the distractions and the fears that you might have in order to allow trust to be trustworthy. More often than not, you will find that in order to get, you're going to have to give what it is that you want to get. So if you want a trustworthy or a trusting relationship, you should tell the truth. That doesn't mean that there aren't bumps in the road. That doesn't mean that you're going to be perfect. That means if you tell a little white lie, or if the question becomes, how does my butt look in these jeans? The supportive line might be, well, I love you, and I love the way you look, and I am totally into you. Even if that's not necessarily, or it could be just like, no, you look great in those jeans. I think we want to be supporting and loving, whenever possible. Are there times where it's like, hey, we need to take a look at an issue here, but that's still honesty. If it's coming from a place of truth, I think the difference, sometimes people get hung up on honesty in the idea that if I'm brutally honest, or if I'm not taking your heart into consideration when I tell you the truth, that's an acceptable thing. And the truth of the matter is, really what we're all looking for is safety. And so when we have trust in our relationship, it's not that I'm necessarily trusting that I'll always be honest. It's really more about, can I give you my heart and trust you with it? So I would be trustworthy. That means I'm willing to take care of somebody else's heart with the spirit that it is fragile. And I don't want to hurt their feelings, and I don't want to be abusive. And if I need to be sort of like really extra honest, I'm going to be mindful that words can hurt and leave a sting, and ultimately can divide us. I didn't put dishonesty in the 5 killers. I totally could have. I think, though, that there is sort of like a difference between fact and truth. And sometimes we get mired in certain elements of fact that don't actually help our relationship. That doesn't mean that I'm not truthful and honest within my relationship. I am, probably to a fault. But what it means is I try to temper truth with compassion and love and other things. So no matter what the conversation is with my wife, as an example, that no matter what we end up having to talk about, because sometimes we have some hard conversations to go through, that at the end of it, she's going to feel and understand and know that I'm on her team and that I love her. So whatever that looks like for you, I would offer that to your partner and maintain it no matter what for the long term, because that's what's going to keep your relationship together. Anyway, I hope that helps. How are we doing on this screen for a second? Yes, we are doing well. Yeah, we may be still having some technical difficulties on this end, so I apologize for that. But the show must go on. I think we might be done with Google Hangouts. I keep wanting to give it another try, and there's just some technical stuff that make it complicated. So I think we're going to go with Blab. That's not going to make a difference to you. There'll just be a link that you can click, and it will also get us seeing some other people as well. So next question I have from Angela. How do you create a magnificent, trusting, intimate relationship without fear? What if, ? How do you achieve just knowing and feeling at all times truly happy and safe in the relationship? Thank you. It's a great question. It sort of dovetails perfectly on the question that I just answered. The tricky part is that, yes, part of it is I'm willing to be trustworthy and honest and hold your heart in the most sacred and safe place possible. But what are you going to do with mine? And it's very easy. This is one of the many, many distractions that we get mired by. Like, we get to either move towards fear, or we get to move towards happiness and contentment and love. So we can't really do both. Fear is sort of like the space that I'm going to lose what I have, or I'm not going to get what I think I deserve. And ultimately, it's about this feeling of emptiness that, you know, it's like a sense of dread that if this thing doesn't work out, I'm going to lose too much, so I need to take action to protect myself. You know, all of the stuff that when we talked about the 5 relationship killers, that has totally to do with the ideas of fear. We get surrounded. Did my cat just jump into frame? He totally did. The fear element is the thing that provides the space for all of the things that we do in the relationship killers. In other words, I fear that if I tell you the truth, or if you know who I am, then you're going to leave, or you're going to hurt me, or you're not going to want me. And that's actually, like, when you think about that for a second, there is somebody out there for everyone. Now the cat's climbing on my back. That there is somebody out there for everyone, because there's a billion people out there. And when we've talked about before, when we've talked about soulmates and how it works, I'm not going to get into all the specifics of it, but the details of soulmates is that there are trillions upon trillions of potential souls waiting to come into existence. And obviously there's billions already here. The universe works in harmony. And so that there's going to be many, many people that are going to be part of the limb that makes up your sort of like soulmate chain. So you've probably been with somebody who is part of your soulmate group. It's very, very hard to find the one perfect soulmate. But we always have hope for that. But the point is that you're probably in a relationship. If you are in a relationship now, you're probably in a relationship with somebody who probably is the right partner for you. It's about how do we overcome these difficulties. So to deal with, how do we deal with the fear part? We understand that things are happening for a reason, that our relationship is not intended to be solely just springtime and apple blossoms and cats sitting on your lap. It's going to be about working through each other's nonsense together, forming an alliance, so to speak, like they do on reality TV, where you can get to the end in one piece and do it together. Like the travails of life, like outside of this front door, life does what it does. It's going to be a little bit scary, but we try to work within a team, within my house as an example, where we can get what we need and support each other. So when we go out there, we know we can come back and kind of get fixed up a little bit. And ultimately, that's what the trust is. And part of Kabbalah is that when you're giving that trust freely, the notion is that when the divine, God, your innermost high self, is giving that to you, giving you all this perfection and love and harmony, you want to take it and continue to offer it to somebody else. That action, that consistent action, absolutely brings contentment, happiness, and love within the relationship. And yes, does it work with me? Totally, in spades. It works with my daughter, it works with my wife, it works with my family, my mother even. It works with everybody. The only trick is that when I have a moment which is, I don't want to do that today. I just want to eat hot fudge sundaes and be rude because I don't like what the world did to me this afternoon, and I take it out on somebody that I love and care about. All that stuff, all that fear gets to come back, all that discontentment and dis-ease can come back. So I have to be just mindful of the fact that I always want to, matter of fact, an additional point of this action has to do with, shall we say, I want to connect with the divine. If you don't believe in God, connect with your innermost highest self, your highest integrity, your highest nobility. Like when you take those actions, think about it. Okay, this is for my highest self, and now I'm going to kind of do this opposite thing by remaining loving and supporting and supportive to the people that are surround me. And by the way, this works great with strangers as well. It's sort of like we use it in psychology. We call it self-esteem. We build esteem by taking esteemable action, things that we can feel good about that will bring us happiness and joy through being of service to others. And when I say service, really I'm talking about a phrase, love is an action, and that action is service. Again, I always point out, my friend David Marciano told me that, and it's stuck with me ever since. It's absolutely gold. So yes, it's challenging, but when you take that esteemable action, when you don't worry, or when you're taking the action as opposed to the what ifs, because you can't really do, again, you can't be questioning the what ifs and taking action to support other people at the same time. So again, you get to be in fear or in faith. And when I talk about faith, like I'm a man of little faith, but I am a man of understanding through experience what works and what doesn't. So I suggest you try it out. Just see what happens. Like next time you're kind of like not in the mood to be kind and loving and supportive, and say, okay, I'm doing this for my highest innermost self, God, whatever you want to call it, and say, this is what we're doing. And then try it out and measure what it feels like after you take 2 or 3 of these kinds of actions. I'm telling you, you're going to feel a whole lot better about the world. So let's see. Then I have another question that I think falls into the same line. I am failing at compassion. This is from Tina. My husband works hard, pays the bills. He loves me. He takes care of the kids. But he is such an expletive. I just find it's hard to love him when he's laying around doing nothing on the couch. So you said the right word. Like you understand that he probably needs a certain amount of compassion. I'm going to try and get rid of my cat now. Oh, he's back right on again. Okay, I'm going to leave him here. So he probably is a jerk because he probably had a bad day, and he's probably doing his best to not take it out on you. And he probably does a lot of things really well because he has a personal integrity about taking care of your family as best he can. That's wonderful stuff. Again, this is going to go back to, well, he's laying on the couch, so he may not really earn my compassion. He's doing this thing that I don't like, and theoretically, intellectually, I can say, well, this is a good thing, but really, I've made a decision to not want to do this. Again, like the goal here is that if you are acting within a place of compassion for your relationship partner. And by the way, I frequently kind of frame this as if I'm talking to women, but this is the total, let's say your wife is out working and she's working really hard. She is not in the mood, and you were supposed to make dinner, and now you're like, well, I know she's hungry, but she's not being all that nice to me in this moment, even though I know that she's working hard, or she was with the kids all day, or one of the many things that we do that make it, challenging to be, sweet as peaches at every moment. So it works men and for women. Matter of fact, I think, ultimately men probably need to be doing this stuff even more than women do. That's probably a topic for another show. But getting back to the question is that how do you get compassion? Well, you make a decision. You say, okay, I'm going to do this for the divine. I'm going to do this to make this connection, to make the world a better place, a small better place for everything else. And I'm going to go do that by being really compassionate for my husband. And if you were compassionate, what would that compassion look like? How would that manifest? Well, it might be if he's on the couch, even though you don't want him on the couch, and maybe he should be raking leaves or fixing something or doing, taking you out for a great night or romantic evening together, and he's not doing it well, then be creative. Ask yourself, what could I do right now that would make his moment more joyful? And it could be anything. But it's the consciousness that matters. In other words, deep down inside, when we're like, oh, I'm not going to, I don't have compassion for this person. I don't have compassion for this situation. On a global way, sometimes it has to do with, I don't have compassion for the other. Like, it's easy to look at people of different religions or different, people in Africa or something like that. It's so far away, I can't be bothered. Or I don't know them, I'm not emotionally connected to them. These are all things where we can stop and say, oh, well, why do we have that? Empathy is a strong way. Like, take a moment and say, how must he feel? How is she feeling right now going through this problem? What would it feel like if you were going through it? What would you want done for you? All of these thoughts and all of my long-windedness is like, it's long. When it's happening in real life, you're talking about doing something that takes a second. But the idea is that you open up a little teeny doorway of willingness, a little willingness to explore the idea of what it must be like to be this other person, to go out and maybe not be satisfied with their job or their work or their experience or their life. And they come back and it's like the best they might be able to do at that moment is just to, completely zone out in front of the television. I'm not saying that that's something that needs to stay that way. What I will say is this: there's times where you give somebody space and sometimes you give them love. And let me rephrase that. When somebody gets right home through the door, they're a little bit annoyed and they plop themselves down in front of the television. Maybe they were supposed to go out on date night or something like that, and they're not doing it. Give them a few minutes to chill. And it'll be hard for you. It'll be a little bit hard because you're thinking, well, but I need to tell them about this thing that they're not doing that they're supposed to do. There's a habit that's developed, and if I don't yell at them, they're not going to do it. I'm going to challenge you, if you're watching this, to go out and give them 15, 20 minutes. Let them unwind, let them chill, let them get over the day, let them watch TV, let them be silent and a little weird or a little bit different. And then pose the question to yourself. I mean, you may want to pose this question first to yourself. What, if I was in the same shoes, what would I want from me? And it might be, well, I need a little bit of space right now. It might be a foot massage. It might be some sort of other giving thing. So I would try that, and then you could just simply walk into the room and say, hey, what can I do for you? I know you've had a hard day. That's your act of compassion. And by the way, this works even if you don't feel it. Like, you may not have to feel the compassion, some sort of a divine energy filling you, going, oh, this is, oh, this poor person, what can I do to be full and complete? It may have nothing to do with that. It may just be, okay, I'll give them an extra 10 or 15 minutes. And I'm annoyed by that. And then I'm going to ask them the question of, how can I help you today? What can I make your day brighter? Like, starting right this second. And even if you don't feel it, try it out. Let that experience unfold, and in an hour or so, find out how, check in with yourself and say, how do I feel? How do I feel about this thing? Let's see, I'm trying to track down questions here. That might be it. What time is it? Yeah, we've been here for half an hour. So what we will do is, I think we're going to move to Blab next week. This will make easier for check-ins. I'm also going to start doing some interviews sooner than later. Matter of fact, I think we might even do a live one next week in between. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later through the newsletter this coming week. For the time being, this is Devin Galaudet. If you found us elsewhere other than my newsletter, go here and get your free ebook, Women Are Smarter Than Men, and the secrets that every marriage-minded woman needs to know. I'm also developing something for men, a little bit more, shall we say, gender balance. So that's going to be coming in the very near future as well. Until then, get involved. Oh, yeah. Check out this book at your local bookstore. Born for This. I think you'll find it with my misspelled name, like on page 253 to like 260 or something like that. So fun stuff. Thank you so much for visiting us with us this week, and I will look forward to seeing you again real soon. Thank you so much, and much love, and have a great week. Thanks.